it's so good to be here with you guys. It almost feels surreal. I feel I feel like I've hardly seen you guys this month. It's been kind of crazy with everything going on. So many beautiful things happening, so many like crazy things happening. How did you guys handle all those energies of the 8-8 portal and all of that? And how did you handle Mercury retrograde? For me, Mercury took no prisoners. I had so much shit going down. I had things breaking. I had miscommunication problems with people. I had all kinds of big stresses. So this is why I was like, is it over yet? Can I come out now? Ready to hide under my bed from all this chaos. The retreat was incredible. Honestly, that was probably one of the best retreats I've ever been to. That is how much fun we had. Like, I'm not even kidding. Bradley outdid himself in regards to choosing the location and making sure that everything was set up perfectly and planning all the days. I just want to say thank you to Bradley and his wonderful wife, Tanya, for just putting together a spectacular event. It was incredible. Everybody just had the most amazing time. The only thing that I would change is that it would be longer. Because honestly, once you get to know people, you're like, oh, you have to leave now. Like, it's like you reconnect with soul family. You get to spend a couple days with them, and then they have to leave. And it was really, that was the only sad part. Because some people could come for like 2-3 days. Some people can only even come for one night. So I just wanted to say thank you to everybody who made that journey, especially those of you who had to come from far away to come and join us and just to spend a couple days hanging out with us. And we did some spiritual stuff, like we were teaching muscle testing, and we did some remote viewing things. We just did a whole bunch of fun little things that you would normally do at some of these kind of spiritual retreats. And it was great. So I just wanted to say thank you to everybody who was a part of that, because it really was a very special event. And Bradley and I are already planning the next one. We were discussing possibly even doing it in Virginia. So that way Angelica could join us perhaps for the next one, for the next summer retreat. So we plan on doing at least one of those a year. It's been quite a wild ride, though, I must say, especially with Mercury retrograde in the mix. All kinds of chaos was happening for electronics, things breaking down. There have been a lot of psychic attacks, too. I know some of you have been very frustrated and exhausted over how bad some of these psychic attacks have been over the last few days. So I just wanted to say, like, I see you, and I'm with you in the same boat. We've been dealing with the same shit. Because some of us have been hit pretty hard over the last couple weeks, especially with psychic attacks. And there's been other stuff going on. There's a lot of human stuff going on. I ended up having a split between myself and a friend of 15 years. It was a huge breakdown in communication, which led to heightened emotions. And we both basically just told each other to fuck off. That's kind of how it worked. We're like, we've had enough of you. I've had enough of you. Well, okay, then fine. We'll just both go each other's separate ways. And it's frustrating, especially it's a lot to unpack, especially when it's a 15-year friendship that goes down the tube. And Mercury, like I said, Mercury took no prisoners this time. It was a friendship where I struggled to say no. Like I have always kind of had that problem where I'm a bit of a people pleaser. So if somebody says, hey, can you do this? Or, hey, can I have this? I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever, and I just brush it off. Well, eventually it got to be too much. And I had to basically put my foot down and say, no, I'm setting a boundary here. And when you try and establish a boundary in a friendship that's gone on for 15 years without boundaries, it can be very triggering. And this is what happened. It led to an explosive argument, and we both just said, bye. And it's sad when those things happen, but it's also like it creates like a turning point almost, where you realize the value that you set in yourself is only going to be respected if you are respecting that value for yourself. And if you refuse to say, like, no, I'm done. Like, I am done. I am choosing myself right now, because the level of stress that you can have by trying to people please and keep the people around you always happy, it leads you to feel like you're burned out and exhausted and frustrated. And I had to set that boundary, and it didn't go over very well. So, but when that happens, the only thing you can do is just send them love and say, I wish you well on your journey. And I deeply love this person. So I would never try and get anything, you know what I mean, from that person to say, hey, this is unbalanced. You owe me this. It's one of those things where you just say, okay, moving on to new things. And so, yeah, it's honestly, I do feel like a weight has been lifted from my shoulders over the last couple days. So everything happens for a reason, as they say. And see, it seems some of you have been there too, where, this happened to my son over the weekend and he's perfectly fine now. I was thinking he was psychically attacked. There's been a lot of psychic attacks happening. Lindsay says, I've gone through that too. It sucks losing longtime friends, but at some point it had to end. Exactly. So you just send them love and wish them well. And you just, I've noticed that when you kind of step away from certain people where it was like a tumultuous friendship or relationship, you open new doors for new people to come into your life. And that is the one thing that I am most excited about, is all these new people that have been coming into my life. And I just feel so blessed that we have people who are aligned with what we're trying to do, because when it comes to the human element in a lot of this, a lot of the ego stuff, it distracts away from what's important. And right now, when I have people who are, I have clients who are suicidal. I don't have time for human bullshit. I don't have time for human drama. Like, some people will try and pull you into their drama, and it's like, no, I refuse to participate. I'm not doing it. I got way too many important things to be doing right now. So that's just kind of how I look at it. If somebody is creating drama in my life, I'm walking away because I don't have time for that shit. I really don't. So this is why I think that, honestly, though, Mercury that is the purpose of Mercury retrograde. And that is why it can be a rough time, but it can be a beautiful time. In fact, I pulled a card the other day and it was pruning. Pruning was the card. And it said that there are things from my life that have been holding me back. And think of a plant, right? That if you don't prune certain aspects, like an apple tree, for example, you don't get as much fruit as you normally would. You have to prune around the areas that are no longer serving you, or no longer, basically just the things that are holding you back. And I mean, that was a big pruning that I got during this last Mercury retrograde. So no complaints. I actually feel lighter, as they say. So it's going to be an interesting time, though, when we're just kind of letting the dust settle to see how things are going to start reshaping. And, I feel that spirit release is starting to explode right now in regards to how many cases we've been getting. I don't know if it's because I have my friend Ellie, who's been helping me make videos and things. She's been turning some of my podcasts into like little snippets here and there. And when she posts them, I've been getting a lot of new clients coming in, people saying things like, hey, I've been harassed my whole life. Can you try and help me? And sure enough, we'll go in, and we just found, just this morning, we found somebody that's had imposter soul guides for over 20 years. And this person is a healer. Like, she had implants in every finger. They were using her kind of like a puppet, where she wasn't the one that was being attacked. They were using her to get to other people. It's like, a lot of times they do this with healers, especially with Reiki healers and people who do past life regression healing and things like that. So yeah, there have been quite a lot of entities that we've been realizing are coming to the surface now to be cleared for these people, because so many healers have been compromised. And so this is one of the reasons why people are being drawn to this work right now. They're feeling like something is off. And I was asking the guides about that. I was like, how come so many people are booking clearings right now? And they said people are starting to recognize. They can tell when there's an imposter now. Even if they've had that imposter for 20 years, they're just starting to realize. They're like, there's just something off about you. And so they come to us for a clearing. And sure enough, we're like, no, that is not your friend. Let's clear that out. And then we bring in new soul guides for them, because, yeah, there's a lot of starseeds that have been messed with. And you know what I'm noticing too? A lot of them are children. Children are being harassed like you would not believe. in many cases, we've noticed that sometimes children are kind of left alone till they become teenagers. And that's when the entities come in and start messing with them, because I mean, they're going through hormonal changes, they're going through society changes, even their voices are changing. Like everything that they're going through is like a transition period. And so when that happens, that is the best time for them, or at least what I've thought anyway, for them to get in there and mess with them. But now they're starting to go younger. I mean, we're finding people who are 11, 7 years old, even 3 years old, who are dealing with things like reptilians and stuff. And I know how it sounds, especially for people who are kind of new to all of this. It sounds completely ridiculous that some big old reptilian monster would be messing with children. But if you realize that they haven't always been children, they've had lifetimes where they were warriors, where they were, you know, very advanced healers and scholars and people that were, you know, really doing good on this planet. And one of the things that we've started to add to our clearings, which I thought was already included, because back when I was in training at the SRA, I asked if vows were included in soul contracts. And I was told yes. I was told not to. You don't have to ask about vows. They're always included in soul contracts. So I was like, all right. So I just assumed that this whole time. And so the other day I was doing a clearing on somebody and something just said there's a vow. And I thought, okay, so we cleared the contracts. And I said, all right, so contracts are all cleared? Yes, contracts are all cleared. Does that include a vow that was made? And the guides were like, no, it doesn't. And I was like, excuse me? Like, what? Can you repeat that? And they said, no, there is a vow that hasn't been cleared. And I said, well, we just cleared all contracts. Surely the vow would be cleared. And they said, no, vows are separate. So I am kind of pissed a little bit about that, because I could have been asking for the last 16 fucking months if vows could be cleared as well. So I've added vows to my protocol now. It's one of those things, if you don't ask, you don't get. And sometimes it can be a little frustrating to deal with the soul guides, because they're like, if you don't say it, I can't do it. But they don't tell you what to say either. So it's one of those things where they're like, you got to figure it out for yourself. So anyway, I have now added vows to my protocol, and almost every single person I checked has taken a fucking vow. Almost every single one, including myself. I checked myself and I had a vow of suffering on me. And I'm like, a vow of suffering. I also had another vow. What was that vow? I think it was a vow of revenge. So we have been clearing these vows now, and I have started kind of doing a little bit of research into them. In fact, we even went and met with a client last night. It's a long story, but this wonderful new client that I have, I'm so grateful that she's open-minded, because she's also a doctor. So to have somebody who's like, you know, listening to me and taking me seriously about things like reptilians when she's had that stage of, you know, education is really, it's really something. So she's a starseed. This is one of the reasons why she resonates with all of this. But we sat down with her last night, with Adriana and I, to go through the halls of Amenti. The contract, the vows were so strong for this little girl. We had to go into the halls of Amenti and ask to rewrite the vows. And I was like, so instead of having like a vow of revenge, you do a vow of love and forgiveness instead, to counterbalance that. And so it was very interesting to sit down and go through the halls of Amenti, because you have to word your everything has to be like formulated perfectly. And if you don't formulate it perfectly, they're like, try again. It's like you're in astral court. So you ask, why does this little girl need this? Well, she took a vow of revenge. A vow of revenge? I'm like, interesting. What is this about? So we looked around at her Akashic record. This little girl has almost identical history that I do. Almost identical. She is a Tegetan. She's a Tegetan veteran. She's been here since the Orion Wars. Her triggered past life resonances were witch wounds and this trigger from the Orion Wars. So it's a long story, but she was a commander of the Tegetan army, or Tegetan military, I should say. And they basically, they were quite formidable against these Lizzies back in the day, back during the Orion Wars. And so this little girl who's, I mean, she's only a little girl now, but in that past life, she was a badass, like I was, like Zoran was. She took a lot of Lizzie casualties, we'll put it that way. And she was pretty much undefeated in battle until they captured her. And what did they do when they captured her? They tortured her horrifically to the point where it's bad. Like the Lizzies are very creative in their ability to torture humans. And unfortunately, this young lady went through horrific, just absolutely soul crushing torture. And she did end up escaping from this. And when she escaped, in all of this torture, she made vows of revenge. She made a vow that she'll kill every single last one of them. And by creating that vow, she created a loop with them, where in every single incarnation she took after that, she would be doing battle with them. Every single one. It's like she pulled that by making such a strong vow. She created that scenario where she was pulling them into every timeline. It's like when you hate something to that degree, when you have something that you are, it's like you create this alternative persona in a way that is just hell-bent on creating as much turmoil for this other person or other creatures as possible. And so her guides even said, like, this is not a good place for you to incarnate. Like, they're going to keep coming after you in every single incarnation. And she was like, fuck it, I'm going in anyway. So she did. She came in, and ever since literally she entered the womb, they started attacking her and her mother. Like literally from the minute she got down here. She wasn't even in a physical vessel completely yet, and they started attacking her. So we went into the halls of Amenti to rewrite it, and it was very complicated to rewrite vows and her mom was there as like her spokesperson, basically, to be able to make these decisions on her behalf. So it was very intense, to put it to the least. And so I asked Zach as we finished this call, I was like, do I have a triggered past life resonance? And he goes, yes, of course you do. It's like, what's my triggered past life resonance? I'm just curious. And he goes, it's the same thing as little girls. Your Orion wars are all triggered. And I said, what specifically? Like, what part of that? And he goes, your family being eaten in front of you. I was like, oh, that'll do it. That's a trigger. I can imagine watching my loved ones get eaten in front of me. That would be traumatic. And they said, you made similar vows that she did. So I went in and cleared all this as well. I extended forgiveness, and I don't want to go for this tit for tat bullshit with them every lifetime. I'm not going to give up either, but I'm not going to let it consume me to that point. So Chantal says, question, if a person feels that way about you in this life, all hell-bent on distraction, but you don't engage, how does that play out? Karma works in an interesting way, where if you both feel the same way, like if you think you owe me and I owe you, there's going to be a repetition of cycles happening, right? Where we just end up repeating the same scenarios over and over again. Where I hurt you, you hurt me, and then we have to forgive each other. Oh, we didn't forgive each other. Oh, look, we do have to do it again. I hurt you, you hurt me, same thing. So when that happens, you create that wheel of karma where you're both just hurting each other over and over again. It doesn't just mean humans are in that. I mean, there's reptilians in there, there's greys in there, there's other galactic beings in there. There's even karma you can have with like the earth itself. If you truly feel that you absolutely hate it here and you can't find this, you just find this whole place disgusting, of course, there's going to be some kind of karma that you're creating with your own home. So these are all things. This is resentment. This is, all kinds of stuff that we're trying to work out. You got to clear the animosity and the resentment. You have to send that person love and understanding, compassion, and forgiveness in order to clear karma. If you are ready to do those things and you say, I forgive you, I love you, I wish you well, but I don't want to know you anymore. That clears the karma, where you are completely clear from the equation. If that other person doesn't reciprocate, if this other person doesn't change how they feel and they still feel that you owe them something, or you still feel some sort of resentment towards you, but you have healed your side of it, you can walk away karmically free. They will work that out with somebody else who's working out with a similar lesson. You are not to be held to that karmic loop anymore once you have removed yourself from it. This is part of the reason why forgiveness is so important. Not just forgiveness for other people, but forgiveness for yourself. And this is something that I have been working on too, because there's a lot of anger and frustration and betrayal in my soul history. And this is one of the reasons why I've been dealing with so many loops in this lifetime. Like, as I've asked my guides, like, there's a couple of scenarios. Like, I've been married twice. Like, there's a lot. I've been engaged 4 times. I've had nothing but karmic relationships in this lifetime, just on repeat. And so, and I asked the guides, like, what is going on? Like, even my friendships, a lot of them do seem kind of karmic. And they said, well, they are. Absolutely. This friend that I was just talking about that I ended up kind of stepping away from after 15 years, we were married in a past life. And we argued like in this lifetime too. We were always arguing. This is part of the reason why my guides were like, this friendship is better off not, anymore, because we fought all the time. And I almost never argue with people. Like, it's just something about certain people that trigger you, if you know what I mean. Yeah, that's why, because we were married in a past life and we had some karma that we needed to work out. So not only is there 15 years of stuff in this lifetime, there's all these other lifetimes where you end up realizing, okay, there was a lot more going on than you realize. And this is why you had the triggers in the first place. This is why little arguments would happen and why certain things would just rub you the wrong way with a certain person. And you're like, I don't know what it is, but there's something underlying here. And sure enough, that's what I looked into. And yep, there was another karmic relationship. And they said, once you move on from these things, you clear it from your Akashic record. And if you are a Starseed veteran who is on your last lifetime here, like I am as a human anyway, all of this stuff is coming to the surface to be able to be cleared out. All of it. If you're on your last lifetime here, you're tying up loose ends. You're clearing out all this stuff. So the biggest, most important thing for the veterans is forgiveness. Feel it. Even if it's anger and rage, like, feel that shit, but then release it. Don't hold on to it. Once you bottle it up and you hold on to it, and once you start talking revenge and saying things like, oh, I'm going to get them. They really screwed me over. I'm going to screw them over too. There you go. You got that karmic balance that you're still doing this. So you send them love, you send them forgiveness, you send them healing. You say, I'm sorry that you and I are not able to see eye to eye on things, but I send you love. I still love you anyway, and I wish you well. Because you know what I've noticed? Whenever you think about somebody, let's just say somebody really screwed you over to the point where you feel absolute betrayal, right? And you're stewing over that. You're giving them your energy. You're literally creating cords with this person. Not only are you setting cords yourself to this person, but you're allowing them to set cords to you. So you're giving them your power by being angry with somebody, by even thinking about this other person. You're giving, they're occupying, you know what I mean? What was that one quote where they say where they're taking up rent or something? That's exactly what it is. They're paying rent for your space in your head. So you tear up the contract. In fact, you can even visualize it, where you have something where you just visualize the contract and you rip that shit up. You can also, we did a really beautiful ceremony at the retreat where we wrote down, this was a suggestion from one of the guides. And I was like, brilliant idea. Where we did like this burn and release ceremony. And I highly recommend, if you guys, today is the last day of Mercury retrograde. If you have never done a burn and release ceremony, I highly recommend you do one today. So you basically take a piece of paper, you write all the things on that piece of paper that you want to release. Doesn't matter if it is relationships, it can be hurt that you felt in the past. It can be, people that are no longer serving you in this lifetime where you're like, nope, I'm just done. I'm done with your shit. There can be anything. It can even be trauma, right? If you're dealing with a witch wound, if you're dealing with a persecution wound, if you're dealing with a form of, just trying to heal certain, like I said, betrayals and things like that, write it all down. Okay. And as you do that, as you write those things down, you just visualize all of that pain coming out of your body and going down into your hand and out into that paper. And you put all of that emotion into that paper. Okay. And you visualize that. So you fold it, you fold the paper, fold it away from you when you're done. Okay. Then go to a fire. It doesn't matter if it's a little bonfire. You can even light a candle, whatever. Just do it really, really carefully. If you have one of these big seashells, that would work too. So you take that paper, you fold it away from you because you're sending those things away. You're releasing it away. Thank you, by the way, Kat, for that. So as you do that, you set the piece of paper on fire and you say, I release this to Gaia and the universe. Gaia, please take this, carry it away, take it to wherever it needs to go to be fully released. And as you do that, you can do a soul retrieval where you can basically say, I call my energy back to me. All soul fragments that I have lost that are ready to return, I call back all the lost parts of myself. I call those parts back to me today. And I wish to heal and reintegrate those lost parts. Because so much of what we do for other people is giving our energy away, giving pieces of ourselves away to other people. You know, people even say that, but like when they go through a breakup, it's almost like you can feel a piece of you has been taken, especially in a breakup. Because when you have invested yourself into a loving relationship and that relationship just explodes in your face, what else can you do other than to just calmly release? Say, I'm thankful for everything this has helped me learn. It helped me stand into my power. It helped me recognize my self-worth. I'm very grateful for all of the lessons that this relationship has brought to my, brought to the forefront here, but I am sending it away. It's no longer serving me, and I am releasing these cords. So it is one of the most powerful things that you can do. And when you see that piece of paper burning, I'm telling you now, I'm speaking from experience. I felt such a lift. I felt such, and I didn't have to get specific about it. I didn't put down a single name on that piece of paper. There were no names. I just said, I release all of these things. I release the pain that I have felt from my past lives and from this current life. I release all anger and frustration. I release all of the things that no longer serve me. This is one of the things that you can do as often as you need whenever you feel that there's something rising to the surface that you would like to be cleared. Writing a letter, too, is really beautiful as well. So if you write a letter and you say the things that you would like to say that you don't have to say to the other person, they don't ever have to read the letter. You just write it down on pieces of paper, and then you can either burn it or you can save it for another time. In fact, we wrote a letter to ourselves afterward. That was a great suggestion, by the way, Kat, where you basically you do the burn and release, but then you write a letter, a thank you letter to yourself, and you put a future date on that thank you letter. And so you store it somewhere until that date, and then you pull it out and you read the letter as a thank you letter to your future self. And I just wanted to say thank you to Kat, because that was a brilliant suggestion. So not only do your burn and release, but write a thank you letter to yourself and just thank yourself for putting yourself and your own needs first, for, doing the things that need to be done for yourself. Some people say you can bury it too. Yeah, you can bury it. Absolutely. Just planting the new thoughts in your mind interrupts the old negative thoughts. Yes, Catherine, exactly. You have to reprogram your mind, because a lot of this, the way that we think is programming or training that we've received from earlier age, and we're just not releasing things properly, especially men. No offense, men out there, but you guys bottle shit up like crazy. And if you're bottling things up, it's going to go straight into it gets stored in your chakras. It even gets stored in your organs. And after a long time, your body will have this heaviness. It's not running properly. And that's because it's battened down with all of this negative energy. So men especially need to do these things where they talk, where they release, where they purge these emotions from within. Kat's got some great ideas on this. Thank you, Kat. I appreciate you giving some tips on it. So yes, today is the perfect day for a burn release with Mercury retrograde ending. Even just visualizing it, right? So you visualize all of that beautiful golden light coming down from source. You're visualizing that coming down into your crown, and it goes into your body, and you can see it like powering up your etheric field. You can see it going into your chakras and making your chakras brighter. But as you do that and you take deep breaths in, you blow out black smoke. You just visualize black smoke blowing out. So you take a deep breath, Hold it for 4 seconds. And then as you release, you visualize that black smoke blowing out. And all of that is the negative emotions and feelings that you did not want inside your body. Would release it from your vessel. And if you do that every day, I'm telling you, you're going to feel lighter. I'm speaking from experience as somebody who always bottles shit up too. Bottles it up until it gets triggered in some way. And then the bull's in the china shop, so to speak. I'm going to postpone 2 classes of this weekend. So for those of you who signed up for the Reiki 2 course, that is going to be postponed for now. We are also going to postpone the gridding class. The reason for that is because we have, well, first of all, like I said, there was some drama that created some issues there. So that is being worked out. But also, Kat and I are burned out a little bit. We've got a lot of clearance to do. Just to put it into perspective, right now, I need to prioritize my clients. I have 124 pending records right now. 124 pending bookings. There's not a single one of you that I've noticed is like a light case right now where I'm like, oh, this person only had a couple things. No, like these are all heavy cases. And so part of the reason why that I'm going to postpone things is I really want to make sure that it's being done properly, that you guys are really getting what you're paid for. So Kat and I, because of all of the retreats and all of the stuff going on, we have not had a chance to put together the presentation for that yet. But not only that, it's been too much. Like I filled my summer way more than I should have. I haven't even been home more than 2 weeks this whole summer because of all these events. And I'm going away in 2 weeks again. In 2 weeks from now, I'll be going to France with Erin. So I'm for those of you who have paid for the Reiki 2 course, I will actually be sending you a gift as well as just a thank you for postponing for now. We will have the Reiki 2 course. I'm just going to be doing it after I get back from France because, like I said, I'm just burning out. I am burned out to the umpteenth degree. So overscheduling is a big problem, Zane. Exactly. So thank you for understanding. We will do the class very soon. We're just getting better organized. We want to make sure that what we're going to deliver is going to be something worthy of your time. And so this is why, yeah, with the kids going back to school, I just put way, way too much on my plate. To the point where it is actually like my own personal life. Like I don't even have time to do any of the things that I would like to do on a personal level for myself. So this is why it's really important to reprioritize and to shift things around and to know your limits. And so, yeah, that is why for those of you who have paid for Reiki 2, I will make sure that you guys are getting an extra special present I'll probably send you some Organite or something as a thank you for waiting, because there's only about 10 or 12 of you who have booked for that Reiki 2 course right now. So I just wanted to say thank you for your patience and understanding as we kind of shift and move things around a little bit. And yeah, exactly. I need a break. I'm burning out to the extreme here. I love what I do, and that is part of the problem. Because if you love what you do and you want to do it every waking moment that you're awake, you burn yourself out very quickly. And even though it's not even work to me, I'm still to the point like I'm exhausted. I didn't even get home from Missouri until yesterday. And the minute I got home, like literally I raced up the stairs from getting my stuff from the car, and I immediately put my laptop down to chase beasties. Like within 30 seconds of being home, I sat down to do clearings immediately. And I did a whole lot of them yesterday, and there's a bunch more today we'll be doing. So I'm doing absolutely everything I can to catch up. So that is going to be my biggest priority right now, is because my clients can't wait. If you saw what my clients are going through, if you saw how bad these cases are getting right now, you'll understand why I need to put my clients in my highest priority and with catching up on my clearings. So Michelle says, you need time where you're not doing anything but relaxing. Do you remember how I had an argument with my guides about that a couple months ago? Where they told me, they're like, no chasing beasties, you're just going to relax. And I'm like, what does that even mean? Like, what is relaxing? Does that mean I'm allowed to watch TV? Am I allowed to watch my TV programs? Like, because there's shows I haven't had to catch up on. I'm really liking Gilded Age right now, for example. How am I supposed to relax if I can't watch TV? They're like, okay, you can relax. You can do that. I'm like, can I play video games if I'm relaxing? They're like, no, that's not relaxing for you. like, what is relaxation? I don't even know what it is anymore because I'm such a workaholic. So the guides are like shaking me, going, enough, like simmer down. Lindsay says Netflix and chill. Okay. I'm trying to learn how to relax here. So Melanie says, sending love, looking forward to Reiki too. So happy to hear you're setting healthy boundaries for yourself, and I'm looking forward to my clearing. Thank you, Melanie. I did see you on my list. You're coming up. You're coming up very soon. I saw your name this morning. So yours is coming very soon. Chantal says, I'm also watching Gilded Age. Isn't it beautiful? The outfits. Like, I'm telling you, I swoon over every outfit that comes on the screen. That's why I watch it, is for the clothing. So anyway, but it's fun to be able to, like, we've had an amazing time. We really have. This whole summer has been incredible. But as you guys know, like I said, I haven't been home. Like, I went to Texas, and then I went to Grenada, and then we had the Missouri thing, and then I'm going to France in 2 weeks. And then we're also planning more things. We're going to be doing a ghost busting tour in Salem, Massachusetts in October. So that'll be a big deal. So, and I'm also planning a retreat in South Africa. If you guys are interested in meeting me in the bush, we're going to, for those of you who are in South Africa, I'm going to be in the Kruger Park for a week, and I will be in the garden route for a week. So for those of you who are in South Africa that would like to hang out with us, that'll be the last week of January and the first week of February. So when I say, like, we're traveling all over, we're not just clearing people, we're clearing properties and spaces like crazy. We cleared the Battle of Lexington the other day. That was really cool. That was a fun one. Bradley said, Lara, it's all go and no slow. No kidding, right? It's my ADD. I'm like, shiny thing. I'm always like running around. Zoom, zoom. So I need to like simmer down a little bit. Chantal says, send me deets so I can book flights. Yes, Chantal, I will do. Like I said, it's going to be the last week of January that we're going to be in the Kruger Park. And the first week of February, we're going to be down south. That's so Aiden can get his birthday cake from his Oma. His Oma makes the best birthday cakes. So we promised Oma we would be there the first week of February down in J-Bay. So it's up to you, Chantal, if you want to come to both, or if you can only get 1 week up north or 1 week down south. It's up to you. So that'll be a lot of fun. But like I said, we're going to be doing all kinds of stuff. Do you guys want to hear about another thing that was really cool? We crossed over Abraham Lincoln the other day. So, I've been talking about, in fact, that's another thing I wanted to share with you guys. I have that Lost Soul Rescue too. I've got some interesting stuff to share with you guys. So we were hanging out, and I said to Kat, I was like, I want to do a historical Lost Soul Rescue. Those are my favorite. Like, can we do one? She's like, yeah. And I was like, oh, okay. So Bradley, Kat, and we all sat down together to do this historical Lost Soul Rescue. And I said to her, I was like, can I just pick a name? Like, because I had one in my head that I was like, ooh, can we? And sure enough, she's like, yeah, go for it. And I was like, oh, let's do Abraham Lincoln. And they both look at me and they're like, oh, why not? Like, okay. So we tune in, and Abe was not fully crossed over. He was in a similar it wasn't a death loop. Like, he wasn't getting shot over and over again. It was more like one of those emotional type loops. Do you remember when we found Galis wasn't in a death loop. She was like in an angry loop. Like, she was stuck in like a loop of emotion inside like a dark void. So that is where Abe was. Abe was in one of those emotional loops. And he was, his perception, like, he wasn't able to cross over. He was not able to cross. And I was like wondering why, after all this time, why he didn't cross over. And the guide said is because he had black magic on him. They weren't letting him cross over. So I'm like, all right, like, here we go. So we called in the angelics, and we got all this stuff removed from Abe, and we got all that cleared. And we found out, well, first of all, Abraham Lincoln was a starseed. Thank you, Bradley, for that reminder. Yes, he had an anchor. So it was like an energetic anchor where he couldn't cross. He couldn't leave that space where he was. So they had him stuck. They didn't want him to reincarnate again. Oh, like, oops, did I do that? Oh, I love it. So yeah, the beasties did not want Abe to reincarnate at all. He was a very powerful starseed that came down here to enact change. And yeah, he got some stuff screwed up. Nobody is perfect, especially when you take a human form and you forget why you came here in the first place. I know how native peoples were treated under Abraham Lincoln. I'm well aware of that. So like I said, not everything he did was good, but there were things that he was trying to change, things that he was trying to make better. And they were like, oh, no, you don't. So unfortunately for him, he was stuck. And so we went in and checked. You know that his wife was also not crossed over. What's her name? Oh, I just had it in my head too, and it was like, shoot, gone. Mary something. Anyway, his wife, Mary, wasn't crossed over either. Mary Todd. Thank you, Charlie. That was not me, the name of that. Mary Todd was not crossed over either. So we ended up, she was in a dark void too. So we checked Mary Todd. She was able to cross over, and they both crossed over together. So we're all like, aw. I love historical lost soul rescues. There's a few people that I've been wanting that are at the top of my list. I don't even want to say who they are until after we've done the clearings now, because I don't want any beasties to try and get in the way of what the clearing is. But there are some pretty big historical lost soul rescues that I'm very excited to do. There was the other day, in fact, you know what? I will share the recording with you guys. There was a lost soul. Now, I'm going to share the recording with you today, but please be aware it is going to be very emotionally jarring, especially the beginning. There was a little girl who one of you asked us to help her. She was murdered in Australia by her own mother. She was only 3 years old. Her name is Sophia Rose. And Sophia, for those of you who live in Australia, you probably know the case, considering it made national headlines. It was absolutely a horrific case. So we went in, and sure enough, Sophia Rose was not crossed over. And she was basically in a death loop. And she was she was cowering. So we helped her. Her mother that did that was not sovereign, as you can imagine. Oh my God. So just be aware. Yes, lots of tissues are needed for that recording. It is going to be very emotionally jarring. So if you can handle that, that's okay. If you can't handle something like that, I highly recommend at least skipping for the first hour and then listening to the rest. One of the reasons why I'm happy to share that recording is because we crossed over Diane Fossey. Do you guys remember who Diane Fossey is? Diane Fossey is one of my, I don't want to say idols, but she's somebody I've very much looked up to, especially in regards to the anti-poaching work that I used to do in South Africa. I kind of was reckless in a bit of a way. And part of my recklessness was just my anger and frustration over what those animals are going through. And part of my motivation and all of that was knowing how people like Diane Fossey, for those of you who don't know who she is, in 1985, Diane was working in Volcanoes National Park, and she was helping gorillas. And it's a long story, but she was trying to protect the gorillas from poaching. And their poachers came in and they murdered her rather horrifically in the night. Diane was in a death loop, and so were several of her gorillas. And you know what's sad? We went to cross over the gorillas first, and they were not going to leave without her. The gorillas were like, nope, we're not leaving without Diane. So it's going to get me all choked up again just thinking about it. Whew. So just be aware, like, it is a very powerful lost soul rescue. I'm happy to share that recording with you guys, but it was one of the most emotional sessions that we've ever done. And that's why I'm happy to share it, but I just want to add that little disclaimer in there so that you guys are aware that it was, I'm very glad. Like, I'm so glad that Diane is okay now. Like, as you'll see in the recording, I was getting so choked up and so emotional because Diane just had the purest heart. And she absolutely did not deserve what happened to her. And she did not plan that either, which is even more upsetting. When you plan a certain death and then somebody hijacks your life plan and turns your death into something horrific, I mean, that's next level triggering for the soul. Like, the soul never asked for that experience, and that was forced into that experience. So, as Bradley said, though, I just want to thank you, Bradley, for reminding me of that. That same day that we crossed her over, our wonderful friend Stephanie pulled a card, and the card was called Sophia, and there was a rose on that card. Like, it happened like an hour or two after we did the clearing. So we pulled this card. It was the Sophia card with a rose on it from the Rose Oracle deck. And I'm just looking if I have it here with me. I don't have it close to me, otherwise I would grab it. And so we asked the guides, we're like, wow, like that's oddly specific, huh? We cross over a 3-year-old named Sophia Rose, and then we pull a card that says Sophia with a rose on it. And Sam goes, she's here right now. And that was her way of saying thank you. She was already saying thank you. And look at Ray. Ray knew. See, look at you, Ray. Yes. That is exactly what it was. She came through to say thank you for helping her. She was a starseed, and she was murdered by entities, technically, with her own mother being hijacked by the entities. We asked the soul guides to heal her mother. We did a clearing on her mother as well. And we cleared as much as we could, and we got her mother some new guides. So even though the mother did something horrific, that was not her. And think of the guilt that she must be feeling. Think of the pain that she must be feeling for doing something like that on a soul level without even, I mean, she didn't have control over herself. The entities took her over completely. Anyway, I just wanted to say thank you to the team for that incredible Lost Soul rescue. That was one of the most emotional ones we've had yet, but it was really beautiful. And it just goes to show the importance of doing this work. Like, this is what we should be focusing on, is working together as a team to help people who cannot help themselves. There's at no point was Honest Abe able to clear himself and cross himself over. It wouldn't have worked. And thank you, Bradley. That's another good point. Sophia actually wanted us to clear her mother. She was the one that asked us to make sure that her mother would be okay. So it just goes to show. It reminds me of that grandmother. You remember, Bradley? We did that one clearing where my godmother actually told us about a case that happened in her town, or not far from her town, where a grandmother and the grandmother's roommate were murdered by her grandson. And their grandson, they allowed their grandson, who was on the verge of homelessness, to move in and to stay with them. And then he snapped one day and he killed both of them rather horrifically. And so we checked him, and he was also, I mean, he looked like the Borg. If you look at his astral version of him, he was riddled with so many implants and so many devices that he couldn't have stopped himself if he had tried. So we go to help the two ladies, and the two ladies said, help him first. We're not going anywhere until he's helped. And think of the love. Think of how much love that grandmother must have had for her grandson to say, no, I don't look at me, help him first. Even though he was the one that did something horrific to her, technically, even though it was not technically him. It was the entities. So clearing him and doing all that, the grandmother was so grateful. And even her best friend refused to cross. They were like, no, we're going to go together. So it just goes to show, like, there's so much darkness in this world, but hidden underneath all of that darkness is just pure love. And so many souls are understanding that it's not them. Like, it wasn't his fault. And the grandmother had no resentment towards him. She realized it wasn't his fault. It's because as soon as she died, she could see the entities that were attached. So Chantal says, do they understand at that stage that it was entities? Yes. Yes, they do. They can, anyway. Once you start removing overlays, once you start removing the confusion and the cords and all of the curses and all of that shit that was attached to them, then they start to see things for what it actually was. And the fact that entities don't have karma really pisses me off. That is still something that I would like to speak to the manager about whenever possible, please. I need to have a word with Source about this. But for the fact that an entity, like a demonic being, can jump in a human, use them like a puppet to do some harm to someone else. And then that creates karma for the puppet, but not the entity. That is a huge, like, that is something that if I was writing the rules up there, that'd be the first one I would change. But they aren't from source. They're technically just a creation. So that is why they don't have the karma. Only beings from source have things like that, where it's a lesson that they're learning. Zane says we need a full system upgrade. No, I agree. Yes. There's some things that don't make sense to us humans down here. And sometimes the soul guides are like, well, it'll make sense later. And so I'm like, okay, I'm trusting. I'm trusting it will make sense. Because for now, I'm still kind of like pickling my brain trying to make sense of all of these things. So as I learn and understand, I try to pass that on to you guys as well. And there's a lot of things I'm still trying to learn and understand. How come they don't have karma? Maybe it's they don't have a soul. Exactly, Amma. Yep. And for the record, like if you goad somebody else into doing something and you get, like, let's say that you give up your free will to an entity, right? You gave up your free will and then the entity can use that free will to do harm. Because you gave up that free will, you are responsible for what happens to it. Lara, can you talk about veteran starseeds have to be on Earth for so long? Veteran starseeds, it's not that we have to be here. It's that we accumulate karma and we take baggage with us. You can't leave with the baggage. Earth baggage is very heavy, very dense, very low vibrational. You don't get, it's like trying to climb a mountain like with everything you own that you refuse to let go. It's exhausting and frustrating, and you're not going to get over that peak that you need to. So when you release everything, and there's a couple starseeds that I've done lost soul rescues for, right? Where we'll tune in and we'll do a lost soul rescue. So they're already deceased. So we will tune in and I'll ask, were they a starseed? And they'll be like, they were a starseed veteran. So me being a veteran, that's when I'm like, okay, do tell. I need to hear more. And so I've asked them, do they get to go home? On a few different occasions, the guides say, yes, they get to go home right now. And then they open a doorway and they send them back through a portal to back to their own home world where they can go and do the reincarnation cycle on their original home world, not here. So if they open a portal and send them home, they get to go home and they get to, you know, start over on a new planet in the new vessel. They don't have to take a human body anymore. There are other times, though, when I have tuned in, and this is most often when it's a suicide, when I will tune in and with the guides and I'll ask, is this person a veteran or a starseed? And they'll say, yeah, it's a veteran. And I'll say, do they get to go home? No, they do not. And I'll say, why? Why not? Tell me why. Why can't they go home right now? And they say, well, there's some stuff they're still balancing. There's still some forgiveness. There's still some pain that they need to release. There's still some severe trauma in their mindset that they need to clear. They can't take that with them. And why not? Why can't we take that with us? Well, because you'd be taking those things to those homeworlds. You'd be taking all of that pain, all of that anger, all that resentment, all of that, you know, dark, heavy stuff back to that other planet. So it's kind of like we're in a quarantine. Why? Well, if you're still sick, they don't want you spreading the sickness elsewhere. Same thing how it goes. If you're still working on heavy, dark shit, they don't want the heavy, dark shit leaving the planet. So once you release it, once you forgive, forgiveness is the most important thing at all. You forgive, you release. And once you have all of that baggage released, once you drop all that baggage, you get to go home after this. So I've asked my guides, like, do I get to go home? How am I doing? Like, just out of curiosity, like if I were to get hit by a bus today, would I get to go home? They're like, maybe. Like they don't want to tell me. There might be a couple things you might have to work on, but maybe. Cherie says, what happens on Earth stays on Earth. Shelly says, this is my last lifetime here. I'm incredibly grateful. That's the attitude to have, Shelly. I am incredibly grateful for all the lessons. Thank you, Pachamama. Thank you, all beasties. Thank you to the beasties as well, because we've learned a lot. In fact, I even was having this conversation with Zach last night, because as I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, I was talking about how there were some triggered past life resonances from the Orion Wars that I had triggered again within myself. And I asked about this, and I was like, out of all of the triggers, all of the animosity that we still kind of have around us, like, why is this rising to the surface? And he said, because you're being triggered. There's certain things, like when like right now, there's reptilians everywhere. They're like all over. They're coming out the fucking woodwork like roaches right now. And I was asking why I was triggered, and he goes, that's why. It's because they're all over. They're pretty much everywhere right now, and that is very triggering for you, because it brings back memories of the Orion Wars. And I asked about that. I'm like, so does that mean, like, if I'm easily triggered, that I have more to work on? And they said, yeah, your triggers are a sign that you're still working to clear these things. So if you're still triggered, if you're still dealing with animosity and anger and still going like, fuck you to the Lizzies all the time, which I am, there's obviously some anger and resentment that I'm still working out. So anyway, it's been a wild ride. It really has, but I'm very excited as to how much progress we've already made in the last few months in releasing all of this trauma, all this frustration. Part of that is why we're actually going to France. Funnily enough, we're going to France in 2 weeks. I'm very excited to see some of you in person. Kat's going to be there as well. There's going to be a whole bunch of wonderful people that are joining us in France. And that is what we are going there to work on. We are going there to heal the space, but also to heal ourselves. So for those of you who have a cathar wound, or those of you who have a witch wound or something like that you're dealing with, going to the place isn't always needed. You don't always have to go to that place that you went where all of these bad things have happened. In fact, sometimes it actually can be too triggering for you to experience these things. But what we have come to notice, and especially from last year's trip to France, is that there are opportunities where these emotions rise to the surface when you go to these places. Have you ever been to a place that you don't even know why you feel what you feel, but you go to the place and you almost feel a deep sadness, a deep connection or longing, or even like a feeling of nostalgia when you go to those places? There's a reason for that, because as you go there, you're collecting soul fragments for yourself, places that you've already been, where you've been traumatized. And so you go to those places and you recollect those soul fragments. And when that happens, all of these emotions start rising to the surface, and you don't even know why it's happening. And as these emotions rise to the surface, that's when you feel it out. You go to the root of it. You ask what it is that you're working to heal, and then you release it. You extend forgiveness and all of that. Elaine says Scotland for me. This is part of the, what's interesting about that too, is that some of these places will be somewhere, even though you may have experienced horrific things that have occurred in these places, sometimes you just have a deep love and fascination for it. I was burned as a witch in Scotland, and yet it's my favorite country to visit. I absolutely love Scotland. We are actually planning a retreat next year for those of you who are interested in joining with us. This is going to be one of our biggest ghost busting tours yet. We're going to be doing 5 or 6 days in England, 5 or 6 days in Wales, and 5 or 6 days in Scotland. We'll be doing a lot of clearings there. We'll be doing a lot of ceremonies and things for healing, not just for ourselves, for the collective and for the space. So that'll be for next summer. I wasn't kidding when I said we've got a lot of stuff in the works. So that will be in June of next year, give or take. So we're going to be doing, like I said, we'll be doing Glastonbury as well. So that'll be where we're going to be aiming for that in June. So Kat and Bradley and Carolyn and I are planning all of that, and it's going to be an exciting trip. So if you are interested in that, start saving your money, because it's going to be a really fun one. But it's going to be a long trip. Like I said, it's a big ghost busting tour. So for those of you who are interested in coming and doing some of these healing rituals with us, there will be plenty of opportunities. And eventually, as our team gets bigger, we can start going to some of these darker areas. Like I noticed somebody mentioned Germany. There are some areas there that we would like to clear, that sort of thing. The next SRT course is going to be in October, around the first week of October. That will be SRT 1. And I'll be doing another psychic protection course and another astral projection course and a whole bunch of other ones. We're going to start going through those courses again. Any other questions about that? I just want to say thank you to those who are so understanding about us postponing our classes this week. We're just burned out, like I said, and we need to make sure that we're delivering something that you guys are actually, you know what I mean, that we're proud of. Just tell him to follow along, Janet, if you don't mind. He can also subscribe to, I have a newsletter. If you subscribe to my website, I will send those out when we have the newsletters and all that. So Lila says, I would like to come on the June trip. How would one go about reserving a spot? And any idea how much she should plan to save up for the ghost busting tour? To be honest, we haven't gotten that far. We pretty much just got the dates set. So I'll keep you guys updated on that. I'll be putting a whole bunch of new stuff on my website. So as things come up, I'll give you guys as much heads up as possible. And that'll all be either under retreats or classes on my website. Yeah, the grid course, we didn't even create a Zoom link for that yet. Like that's how crazy things have been. We put way too much on our plates, if you know what I mean. Yeah, I was gonna say what we do for the ghost busting tours, we're not trying to take a profit from anything. We just split everything. And for the record, like Bradley and I, we still ended up in the hole a couple grand from the retreat. So funnily enough, Bradley and I paid more than the people that came for the retreat in Branson ourselves than our guests did. So just so you know, we are not doing this for the point of profit. In fact, there hasn't been any profit in regards to these retreats. We literally just split the money based on how many people are going and what the costs are going to be. So this is why I say, like, yeah, trips like this are expensive. They are. And even we have to pay for them ourselves too. The new date I'm hoping is going to be, yeah, Bradley says I'm in the whole $5,000. I told you, Bradley, we're going to split that. So no, you're not. You're only in the whole 2,500. I'm going to split it with you, brother. Not a problem. But like I said, it was worth it. It was worth every penny of us paying that money to be able to spend time with you guys and hang out and all of that. So I just wanted you to know, like, we put in a lot of effort and time and money and all of these things to be able to have these exciting retreats and things. And it's just, we're learning as we go too, you know. RJ says no hole, it will turn 5 to 10 times over. See, that's exactly the same attitude that I was saying as well. Everything that you put out, especially if you do it with good intentions, it does come back to you. But yeah, we've learned a lot. It was a learning experience for us for our first retreat, putting it together ourselves, huh, Bradley? He would literally, we were just saying that on the way back to the airport. We're like, yep, we would do it all over again in a heartbeat. Absolutely. It is 11:11. It's perfect time to switch over to Astara. So for those of you who are interested in joining us, every Monday we do an Astara meetup. That's on our Academy website. So it's astaracommunity.com. And there is a Zoom link up there. And I will be posting the Lost Soul Rescue in my Lost Soul Rescue group. So if you guys are in that group here, I'll share the link for you. There's a Spirit Release and Lost Soul Rescue Facebook group. This is where I share all my stuff. If you guys are interested in watching that Lost Soul Rescue where we crossed over Sophia Rose and where we crossed over Diane Fossey, and I believe we even did the Battle of Lexington on that recording, didn't we? Pretty sure we did. Yeah, we also cleared Lexington. So that is an interesting recording. Just like I said, make sure you have some tissues first because it's a little bit of a tearjerker. So if you guys are interested in seeing that, I've just shared the group. Make sure you join our Spirit Release and Lost Soul Rescue group, and that's where you'll find the recording. I love you guys. I hope you all have a magical day. See you soon. Bye, everyone.